Hello, my name's Naranjan, the host of Master of Your Crafts podcast. Learning from leaders who are continuously inspired, passionate, and driven to align with their soul purpose, sharing their gifts to bring healing to others. The music is composed by Rebecca Everett. Today is episode number 68, and I'll be talking to Andrea Petrat. Since she lost her mother to cancer when she was 11 years old, Andrea took an empowering vision, made it her reality, and became her own pillar of life, lifting herself and others on her path as an intuitive co-empowerment thought leader. Before moving to Canada from Romania with her 2 boys to be with her love, her old self had to die. Renew to a bigger vision. Hello and welcome to Andrea. How are you, Andrea?
Hello, Naranjan. I'm really well, and I'm really happy to see you and be with you.
I'm happy to be here with you too, because I'm so curious to learn about your path, your journey, because we're kind of like soul sisters, if you will, because you do a lot of intuitive and relationship work, and as do I outside of this podcast. So I'm looking forward to this conversation and how it's going to unravel and hear about your journey. So my question is, what do you believe about yourself, and does it define who you are at this moment of time?
Oh, I love this question, and I have goosebumps. Thank you for asking it. I'm a visionary. I'm a multi-passionate visionary and a dreamer. And it really defines who I am and what I do now and who I can support. It took me decades to acknowledge that. I have seen it since I was little. But to have the courage to say it to the world, to say it up front, this is who I am, really took a lot of healing and breakthroughs and a lot of support.
Very courageous. I echo and I understand that completely, because I was too on a similar path like that. It took me a few decades to get there too. But in the same token, what was that tipping point for you that made you say, no, now is the time for me to step into this gift of intuitive work, imaginary work, and being a guide and a catalyst for others?
I have goosebumps again because it's such a great question. I have the gifts. You have the gifts too, right? We all have these gifts, and they buzz us. They always come to us in the dreams and intuitions by finding a book that really attracts us. This becomes the book, the power book, like for me, The Alchemist. So I had people, places, meetings, insights, dreams, everything to keep me interested, to keep me connected. My heart was speaking in all these moments for decades since childhood. But only after my 3rd child, I really got the message. After my third child was born, I had a traumatic event. My body reacted in a way nobody would expect, but it happens to 15,000 once in 15,000 women. I had a hematoma, and it took me, now looking back, over a year to physically recover. Like, I would say 2 years actually. And although I had signs during 1 year in 2019 that something was not going well, that what I chose to study here in Canada was not appropriate for me, although it was a passion, which is the legal field. And all these things came together. My physical body was going down, shutting off little by little, like from head to toe. My relationship with my husband was going worse. with all my children. It was really like overwhelmed, brain fog, barely standing. And after I finished my studies, which is 1 year of paralegal study, at the moment I did that practicum, I realized I like it, but I don't love it. It doesn't represent me. I cannot work in a place that puts me in a box, makes me comply to rules that are not aligned with my values. Something is wrong here. So my heart was knocking at the door really, really hard. And then this is a line everybody's saying now, pandemic hit.
Right.
And it was a beautiful shock. Really, I have goosebumps again because it really resonated with the big bang for me and my husband. And I looked into his eyes one evening, here in Ontario was March 15 when things started the lockdown was announced. And I looked at him and I said, he knows about my journey, by the way. My husband Gabriel knows about my spiritual journey, my dreams, my awakenings, my breakthroughs. He's the one who witnessed a lot. So nice. I could be open to him and very transparent. And he also is I call him the embodiment of God's love for me and the best support that I could get in a life. So I looked at him and I said, I have to find my own way. I know it's going to be hard. He was working in construction, so he could still have some work. I have to find my way because I feel if I don't, we will always live like that, on the edge, not knowing how we're going to make it through. We had financial issues, all sorts of issues, It was really challenging in many ways. And somebody had to stop it, but it could have been my husband because he was the breadwinner. So I said, allow me to follow my dream, my way, because I know that I'm going to go up. I see the light in my life. It's going to be challenging, but I know that when I find my way and I live it, you're going to live yours. So then we're going to live together the life we've been dreaming of since we met. So that's how that tipping point was for me. It was actually, when you have a glass and you have drops and drops and then the glass becomes full, that for us, it was enough. Like, that's enough. We cannot live like in a rat race. We are not like that. We are people who love life, want flow, want love, and who really, we are both visionaries, by the way. And again, it took me a while to recognize and also tell him, like, you are a visionary. It's a beautiful journey. This is, you are also working with relationships, right?
Yes.
And you have such a beautiful way. I watched your website. I watched you speak, how you present yourself. And it's such a beautiful way how you're holding space and gracefully share your message and support people. I love that because that's what I bring in my marriage. And that's what my husband gives feedback with.
Beautiful.
And when I realized I'm a visionary, I actually watched him even better, and I realized he's a visionary too. And it was for me a double breakthrough. One for myself, and the other one realizing my husband needs me to be that guide, the facilitator, the mentor, the support, so he can have similar breakthroughs in his own life, because one day, that day is coming very soon, he's going to live his dreams also.
Right. And perhaps he's already living them in this moment, but just in a different way.
Yes. See, that's the funny side of life, because we have expectations, right? It has to be this way. But then actually life is showing you it's not like that. And I have a quick example. Can I share?
Absolutely.
It's about me and him. When we met actually after months of him and I separately in two different countries without knowing each other. We asked God to give us the life partner. I took God by the collar and I said, hey, you have two choices, God. Either you're going to show me there's a man perfect for me alive today, and you're going to bring him in my life, or I'm going to be a career mom, happy, successful. That's great. And he did almost the same. He's a different style. He just asked for the perfect woman. And I did some things. I took some classes to shift beliefs and all of that. I did my work, and through a godsend, I reached a place where my husband was. And when we met, it was online. And one day, you know, we connect, we became friends. And one day he looks at me on Skype and he says, Andrea, you are my perfect one. And I look at him and I'm like, you're not the perfect one for me because you don't look like the one that I see in my vision. And he's like,
Okay.
you know what? You don't look like the one I saw with my mind's eye.
All right.
But he felt it and I didn't. And you know, it was interesting that he was much more connected to what he needed and who was in front of him instead of me. But I saw one day the light. We were talking and there was an extraordinary light, white as I've never seen before. And it was not in the room. You know it, Naranjan. This is not something physical, right?
Yes.
I saw it around us and I was like, oh my God, he is the one. Yeah.
What a beautiful story.
Thank you.
What a beautiful story. It sounds very fairy tale like, but in the same token, I don't want to downgrade it or tarnish it with the fairy tale analogy.
Yeah, well, you know what? It is a fairy tale in a way because it's like in the stories where she's looking for somebody, he's looking for somebody, she's in distress, he's in distress too, by the way, in our story.
Okay.
And we find each other, we support each other, and at some point hell breaks loose because she cannot come and visit him, so he has to do everything he can to see her. And she is, this is real, she is building with her gifts and dreams a bridge, a dreaming bridge over the ocean between two continents, just so she can be sure that her path to him and his path to her is protected. And nobody, whether they're doing witchcraft or anything, nobody can interfere because that is a God connection. It's a connection, a divine connection. And really, it took us 2 years almost to actually be together, live in the same house, and live our dreams. It was really excruciating pain that almost became physical, like the emotional and mental and spiritual hell we went through. Really? It almost became physical for me. I cried for days in a row at some point. Yeah, and he cried too. It was beautiful because, you know, somebody asked us, well, so how did you guys keep in touch? Well, he was in Canada, you were in Romania. And I say 15 hours a day. The longest conversation we had was 15 hours continuously. And that was the first day in my life. I remember the day was March 6, 2016. I stayed awake all night in Romania while, you know, for him was morning, afternoon, and then he went to bed. And I laughed so much that my depression and anxiety, the horrible state I was in, turned around completely. For me, I say that he healed me in the moment with his sense of humor. And by the way, Naranjan, I heard that he would never speak like that to a woman. Like how he spoke with me, the jokes and style and everything, he was never so confident and so open like he was with me.
What a testament to you for holding space so he can be more vulnerable and be in a space to let his guard down a little bit more and be his authentic self.
It was amazing, amazing. It amazed me of what is possible when two people feel the fire, feel the connection, feel something beyond the physical, because none of what we felt was physical, you know? that chemistry that people talk about, oh, it has to be chemistry. It wasn't chemistry, it was flow. Mm-hmm. Just like when people are reading your website and they feel that flow, mm-hmm. right? And the design of the words, that's how it was for me and him. It was magical, but magical because we allowed it. It's about allowing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What a beautiful story, and a gift, not only for the both of you, but for the beautiful children that you've brought into the world.
Yeah. So we met in 2016 when we had 2 boys. And this is another story. There's no time here for this conversation, but I'll make it short. After I met him, I knew there was a deep knowing in me that there is a girl coming. There's a spirit coming in our lives. And that I prepared for her for 2 years before she came. Mm-hmm. What I did was shifting beliefs, working on myself, working on relationships with anything that I could, that I found there was a glitch, something that I needed to work on. Forgiveness, like all sorts of things that we can possibly think of, and all the levels, especially spiritual. So I clean up the space because I knew, and I'm sure you know because you're working with this too. When we as humans come into life, we are taking anything our parents are giving us, the conditioning, the beliefs, everything. So I knew that I had to clear up her space. If I wanted her to have a better life, I also knew she brought her own things in, but I didn't want her to be burdened by me and her father. So I did the work with myself, with him. I helped myself. We did this together. I tried all the tools that I had at the moment. And it was beautiful. And actually, when I met him, I have a friend who's also a practitioner like me of one of the methods that I know. And she actually saw her in a vision. She knew I would get married to my husband, Gabriel, and we would have a little girl with blonde hair and curls. Yeah. And when she saw her 3 years after, she's like, Andrea, she's like in the vision. Yeah. And my husband saw another person while he was working in construction. A woman looked at him and said, you're going to have, I see a little girl with blonde hair and a pink dress hanging on to you saying, Daddy. That's exactly my daughter. She has a pink dress. And she did say Daddy one day. And it was exactly like that lady described. You know, all these were signs. And my husband didn't want more kids, by the way. He has enough. Not just mine and ours, but he has more.
Oh, does he? Okay.
And so he's like, I'm almost 50. I don't want to. And I'm like, yeah, but we are so perfect for each other. I must have one with you before you die. And he knew, like, it was so interesting. He didn't want to, but he knew that something would happen and we would have a child. And it happened.
See?
He couldn't stop it. And it's a blessing. It's good. Yeah, like our life is so much fun because he is the fun person.
Exactly. And what we know also is when a soul is ready to incarnate, to come onto this planet in a form, it will do whatever it needs to do, be it the wisdom and the insights that you're getting, that I need to do my own work. I need to clear some belief systems. I need to clear some of this space. So it is clean and clear for her, for the gentle spirit that she brings in. So we all know, and there's an intuitiveness, whether you can call yourself an intuitive or not, but there's a gut instinct that every single person on this planet has, that they can tune into to get more insight and wisdom as to where they want to go.
Yeah. And I was blessed with the ability to see. And I actually saw her when I was 5 months pregnant. It was not a dream. I was in a waking state.
Yes.
And I could go to the other realm and see her. And I knew so that's when I knew it was a she. And even before that it was going to be a she. Right. I knew what her dream about this life was. I know since I've known since then the obstacles she has, the challenges and everything. I know why I'm her mother, why he's her father. Like, we spoke without speaking. I'm also sure you're familiar with this, the connection and conversation without words. And she knows that I am there for her. You know, now we see the almost 4-year-old doing all these things, and it may seem like, oh, she doesn't know. Oh, she does.
She does.
She does know, and she can see things she cannot tell us. Yeah. She can see things that are not visible for us. I hold that truth for her, and I know I will have some work to do, some cleaning to do after I gave birth to her, and you know it's oh my gosh, this is a fairy tale in a way. You know, when you read memoirs like Crazy Brave by Jay Harjo or other things, you're saying, oh, this is a different world. We are living multiple worlds together. We are living multiple realms together. I say we are multidimensional beings living in multidimensionality. And there's no shame in acknowledging that if we do have these gifts of knowing and seeing and sensing. Yeah. That's why I love that you are very open and honest about your gifts and how you support people, and you are very brave in putting it out there for the world to know, and having these raw conversations, because it allows other people like us to open up and say, I'm not alone. I have goosebumps again, and I feel like crying because it's true. We people like us who have these gifts of seeing between realms and dimensions, we have gone through a lot of pain, a lot of challenges, a lot of suffering, and we didn't have people to support us like we have today. Like today, there's so many opportunities.
Absolutely.
And I do encourage our listener to really go for it, to trust that me, Naranjan, or other people are there to help you, to support you, to be with you so you can live your dream. Your dream is so worthy and you need it.
Absolutely. There's a greater purpose of why each of us are here. And it's our individual responsibility to take ownership of that. Just as you would take responsibility for a third dimensional task, if there's a deadline to be met, you're the one responsible for that. But you're also the one responsible for your own path as a soul, or should I say, as a spirit, awaiting for your soul to be embodied in this spiritual life that you live. That's your responsibility to do. So my question to you is, what do you feel are some of the attributes that connect you with this purpose of stepping into this realm with courage and strength and vulnerability, of listening to your heart and guiding others through their heart?
When you asked me, what I saw was a light inside of us, and then unknown or darkness around. And that darkness for me means trauma, means conditioning, means what other people said we should be, we should do. So all these shoulds, all these experiences we lived, if we could just froze them in time, just froze them around us, and see ourselves as separated from our experiences, as separated from what people told us, about living our life, vision, dreaming. Nothing matters. Just take a 5-minute pause and then listen inside. Because our hearts, and this is my belief, it may not be other people's belief, but other people say the same thing, that our hearts, there's something within us, our inner wisdom, there is something extraordinary. The knowing always is always talking. is always having conversations with us, is always showing us in ways we can perceive. For instance, I see images. I have an amazing sense of smell, which is a blessing, but not all the time. Right? Other people hear vibrations, are very sensitive to vibrations and stuff. Other people see, hear, feel, sense, know energies. Like whatever it is for you, tune into that and ask it to be louder if you cannot hear it. Ask it to come forth and listen. And, for me, it's my heart. For my husband, it's his gut. He listened to his gut. There is a feeling in his body showing him something is good for him or not. So what is it for you? If you're listening to this now, what is it for you? Again, I come to that light within and the darkness outside. The world is not dark. The world is what it is. We are all humans learning, and we are not perfect. In the same time, I believe we are unique and we are one. And I believe that there is light within us, and the first to discover it is ourselves. So listen inside in your own way and ask that voice to be louder. There is a book called Ask, I think by Mark Victor Hansen and another lady. And they teach us how to ask questions. Well, honestly, let's open ourselves to the idea that when we ask, even if we don't believe in a higher power, even if we don't know who's going to answer, it doesn't matter. When we're asking, we are setting an intention, and that intention is like knocking at a door that has to open because there's no lock. Nobody put a lock inside our hearts. It's us blocking the way with that darkness, the perceptions, the traumas, everything else that really doesn't represent us. They are lessons. They are not us. Absolutely. We are the essence, the sacredness, the beauty, the soul, the spirit. We are complex. We are not just one thing. I take something in my hand and I say, this is me. No, it's not true. We are much more, and we can sense that. Let's trust that we can sense that.
Right. And it's important to be able to lean into a different element of yourself and lean into a place of curiosity and a place of unknown, because I think it'd be foolish for us to think and believe that we know everything and we have the answers for everything. And while, individuals listening, and as we're having this conversation, we're going, of course we don't know everything. But there's a smaller part of you, be it your ego self inside of you, going, actually, I do know everything. And that is where, from my perspective, the balance comes in. How do we balance the ego and the heart? And what does that look like? But my question to you is, knowing the gifts that you have, the visual aspects, the knowings, the seeings, and the encouragement that you get from your guides and spirits on the other side. Where does that place you in using your intentions with your craft?
When I learned who I am, what I'm here to do, I realized that I can live in the flow. I can have all the support, all the things that I need in my life, that alignment that I think both you and I speak often of, comes when I always go back to the inner knowing. I always go back to that connection. And I always ask first, what is the next step? What is the best thing that I could do now? What is the book? What is the place? Is this aligned with my path? And when I ask, I see the alignment or the misalignment, or I sense it. And when I listen to these insights and take action upon it, when I say that, I mean, I see the misalignment and I say, no, I'm not going there. I'm not taking that path. And I see the alignment, I say, yes, count on me. Then amazing things happen. Meeting you, I was on Podmatch and you just came and said, Andrea, I would like to. And I was like, wow, I was just there. I didn't do anything but say yes to a platform, put myself out there and acknowledge who I am, right? Because you could see something that attracted you. And then you reached out to me. And for you, our dear listener, know that when a host is writing to a guest, I'm telling you from experience, this is extraordinary because any guest is very picky. They don't write to everyone just because even the hosts who are not really, really good, in filtering people, they still pick only those they believe would be a great thing for their show. So
right, absolutely. It's a process and a journey, hosting a podcast, but also being a guest too. So a huge learning curve, but that's what we're here to live, and that's what we're here to do. And like you, for me to truly step into my power, this was an avenue and a way that I can delve into an element of curiosity, but also allow others a place and a path so they can share their gifts that bring an extended part of healing to the planet, because I'm a believer that's what we're here to do. And this is my little drop in the ocean, creating some ripples and some waves for individuals to truly step into their own heart and their own light. So my question for you is, what do you believe is your calling?
The word visionary came to mind.
Okay. What does that mean? What does that mean for you? Let's break that down a little bit, because you have used that a little bit a few times.
For me, and for the insights that came about what a visionary is. A visionary is somebody who lives on this planet and sees the future. But for the visionary, the future is the present. It's not like, oh, it's going to be in 10 years, 5 years, or 100 years. For a visionary, the future is now. They are living it. A visionary cannot separate himself or herself or themselves from what they see possible. They live it. It's part of them. It's like them and the vision have become one from the moment they were born, or maybe even conceived. And this is challenging because on the inside, you feel it, you experience it, you live it. Your mind is thinking according to the vision. You can see possibilities, you see opportunities and make connections. It's high tech in your mind, it's like all the dimensions and all the things. And when you talk to people around you, family members, friends, colleagues, bosses, or whatever, when you look around you, where you live, where you work, there's a contrast. It is not what you see.
Right.
And then the journey comes. How can I make it happen?
Right.
Or like we started talking,
yes,
maybe we live it, but we're not acknowledging that we are living the vision. So there are two questions for us, which could be on the same path or different, doesn't matter. Are we actually living the vision, but we're not acknowledging it because it's different than the world is telling us to see, sense, feel, or know? Or we have this vision so we can bring it in other people's lives because we are the trailblazers. Right. We are the ones pushing forward, bringing the healing that you're talking about. Helping the world.
Absolutely. I love that, to be able to embrace it and see other individuals on their own path and their own journey. While you can't honor that and respect them for it, but recognizing there's a specific purpose why you're here at this moment of time. Just like your beautiful little girl, there's a very specific purpose of why she kind of tapped you and your husband on the shoulder and said, I'm ready. When are you guys ready? So I think it's important to acknowledge that. And I love that you can see that visionary process, or your version of visionary, because there's a million versions out there. of what that looks like for you and how you can engage with it in your day-to-day life as we live in this pretty dense third dimensional world. So what a beautiful opportunity for individuals to connect with for you, to transform those relationships and transform self.
Beautifully said, beautifully said. And I love the thing that's tapping. Hey, I'm ready. How about you? Because it is true. It is true.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. How did you get here? Which somewhat we know how you've got to this place that you are now in terms of courage and strength to step into it. But what's next for you? Where do you want to go after this? So tomorrow, what does your visionary future look like for you?
You talked about holding space, if I remember. And that's my craft. You know, you have a question for us guests, you know, about our craft. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't answer when I saw the question because for me, it's not in words. It comes natural. Right. Now I'm telling you, holding space. Friends speak about me, and I'm using their words because I didn't have them. I'm fiercely and lovingly holding space for healing, for transformation. And I've noticed in the last year that I can do that for many, many people at once. Mm-hmm. So this is my gift and my next thing, reaching out to big audiences, speaking on stages, continuing to speak like I do now in podcast events, so that I can reach more and more people and so they can feel held with love, understanding, compassion in a way that maybe none of us have ever felt before. And this gift and my craft come from what we all have, which is our uniqueness and our own gifts. And once we tap into, connect with, and create that, I don't know why it came to me like a diamond relationship, a relationship that is going to cut through anything we don't need, everything we don't need, and it's going to shine with everything we do need, and we do need to show to the world and what the world needs of us. And yeah, that's my next dream. Somehow it's happening. You know how it's like when you have it, it's actually happening, but it's in another reality or another realm, another dimension. And to manifest it in this 3D world, it takes some, you know, touch some strings, have some resonances, have some flow here and there. I am grateful that it's happening already. I'm grateful that we are all shifting this reality and this world into something amazing. It's gonna be, it is already is amazing. It's just, we need to see it at a planetary level to actually realize, oh my God, we did it.
That's right. That's right. It's also to be holding space is how I translate your response. Holding space for individuals. So when the creation of a diamond actually happens, it comes from sand. So the rubbing against the sand, and we've all been there where you've been on a beach and you've got sand in your toes and it feels so uncomfortable. But it's that insistence and consistency of it that actually polishes what needs to be lifted and come out. So while you share the analogy of this diamond being shown and visible and polished, it's the grains of sand that are getting in the way, which represent in my version, the belief systems, the karmic experiences, and all those other elements that are we're ready to let go if you're ready to go there, because not everybody is. But I think as our role as energy beings and light bearers, if you will, is to hold that space for them. Have the bench at the end of the beach so you can kick off your sandals and take the sand out of your toes. That I truly believe is our role.
Yes, very, very poetic. Thank you for putting it this way. And very true. Yes.
Yeah. Is there anything you would like to add to the listeners or to this conversation as a takeaway, as a share, as something that individuals might want to engage with just as they reflect and maybe feel a little courageous to tap into that unknown space?
My invitation is to feel your place in the world. Just like we talked before with frozen everything in time and feeling both your inner self and also your place in the world. Not how the world wants you to be, how you know your place is in the world. Whether you're a visionary or not, whether you're a leader or not, coach, healer, practitioner, it doesn't matter. What is the designation? What is the label? You look at yourself and see what is your place in the world. If you haven't found it, go for it. If it's there, you're not acknowledging, you're not taking agency like you, Naranjan, say. Take agency. Find out how can you take agency.
Right.
Just work for it. Because I see it for you, dear listener, as possible, available. And it's not at the tip of your fingers. It is right in front of you. It's in the mirror. You just look in the mirror and it's right there within you. All it takes is the curiosity that you, Naranjan, talk about. Be curious, be open. Let yourself be revealed to yourself. Let your path, let your gifts, let them reveal to you and embrace them like, I don't know, you haven't seen a friend for such a long time, a very, very dear friend, and you're holding them, you see the light in the mirror and you're like, where have you been? I missed you. When you do that, your heart is going to speak to you yourself. You're going to hear the voice and you're going to see the diamond. And you're going to forget about the sand. It's going to become less uncomfortable and it's going to become so familiar that you're going to say, I love the sand. I love the darkness because I know I'm much more than that.
Beautiful. I love that. That inner knowing that I'm more than a grain of sand or I am a diamond in the making, if you will. But I love that. I love this conversation, Andrea. Thank you so much for sharing your gifts, your insight, and your very vulnerable and enriching love story, if you will, between you and your husband and your little girl. So thank you so much for sharing, and thank you.
Thank you. It was such a beautiful opportunity. I love it when I meet people like me who are seeing the connections, the network, what's beyond the visible. Because together we are, I say we are touching chords and there's a symphony or a specific song that comes when two people meet and then together we create a symphony. It's such a beautiful song in the universe. And that is going to help us all. Our joy, my joy and yours, is going to help others too. I believe in that. Thank you.
It's time to embrace it. Thank you again, Andrea. I'm Naranjan, and you've been listening to Master of Your Crafts podcast. Please subscribe, rate, and review, and join me next week for another episode. Thank you for listening.